Welcome to Jimmy Snow Has a Podcast. Hey, listen, I have a bit of a note for you. This is going to be a peculiar episode. This is the episode for September 12th, which we actually recorded, me and Forrest Valkai and myself, on the 12th of September. However, you're going to get it a day late because when we recorded it during the theme song music, a technical error as a result of the new program that I have been using occurred, and the audio for the intro is horrible. So basically, I'm going to re-record what I said, and then it's going to very abruptly switch to me wearing a different shirt in the recording because I'm only going to re-record the things that I had said yesterday that the audio cut out during the intro, but this one will be improved. Unfortunately, we also are going to lose the outro of the episode for the same reason. The technical error I have, I think, figured out, and so everything should be good, but we're just going to proceed from there because there's not much else I can do except roll with the punches. So thank you for understanding. By the way, the things I said were things like today marks 53 days to the election. Of course, it's now down to 52. And we're here to talk about the politics, the news, and other things happening in the world. Patreon.com/Jimmy Snow is where the patrons are supporting, and really they have brought you this episode. This episode brought to you by the wonderful people at Patreon.com/Jimmy Snow. Get over there and check out the possible benefits as well as access to the always ad-free show, plus the extended episode. And I already know the one Forrest and I did, and it was hilarious. It was a lot of fun. This podcast is leftist, it's godless, it's dairy and bullshit free, just like me. Now, before we start the podcast, this was actually part of it yesterday. So I had to start this episode with a note about the audio thing we're re-recording. And then that episode had its own little note, my own little Jimmy Snow rant, a little snow plow. That's what we'll call the segment, a little snow plow going on. Before we start, I want to offer a note because exactly what I thought would happen regarding something I said on the special Thursday episode covering the debate. I expressed that I have skepticism about the origins of COVID-19, as was somewhat hinted at in the answer given by, or the challenge by Kamala Harris regarding Trump's obsequiousness towards Xi Jinping and his refusal to let those origins be investigated. And even though I tried to be very deliberate with my words, people have tried to change what I said and commit me to accepting conspiracy theories, which I do not. So I'd like to give a few clarifications. And these are those clarifications. One, my position is the same as Dr. Anthony Fauci's, pretty much word for word, which is that the virus was definitely not a bioweapon. It was not an intentional leak. It was not specially designed. It is not any of those things. But also, like Dr. Fauci, it is wrong to call the lab leak theory, that specific hypothesis by itself, not the greater pandemic stuff, but that specific lab leak idea. It's actually wrong to call that as a holy conspiracy. This was shared by Dr. Fauci in one of those sort of interrogation meetings in January of this very year, as well as sentiments similar to that in the years leading up. Number two, I agree with Dr. Fauci and a huge number of scientists, and we're talking legitimate scientists, not the plandemic guys. We're talking university scientists, legitimate scientific institutions, basically, that we should investigate the lab leak hypothesis. Number three, I also agree with Dr. Fauci that any claims of this being intentional or that he or others facilitated the leak and then subsequently suppressed it, that those people are in fact all engaging in conspiracy theories. My fourth point, the three major intelligence agencies who released reports are also consistent with my conclusion and Fauci's conclusion, or I should say position. It's more of a position than a conclusion. The FBI's report actually favors the lab leak theory above the others, assigning it as the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic with moderate confidence, as in not neutral. It could be this, could be that. Not even confident that that's not the case, that it was something else. Moderate confidence. The Department of Energy actually changed their own position last year from uncertainty to where it came from to also favoring what you would call a lab leak hypothesis. Though I would love a different phrase, since that is often associated with the pandemic. And the CIA remains agnostic so far, will not mark any confidence in an origin because it seeks further investigation and evidence. And I admit, it is very, very frustrating that those reports the ones that do have confidence that it was that, are citing things that are secured, confidential, the type of thing that we would probably have to find the information from them directly after it is declassified, or perhaps just casually hidden in Donald Trump's bathroom. One of the two. My fifth point, mostly my final point. It is very, very disappointing that in a skeptic community, people would essentially reject the call for skepticism, specifically a type of propositional agnosticism, when available information actually does call for it. And it's even more disappointing that these individuals would make straight up false claims about the evidence that does or doesn't exist, that seems to just be a repetition of something that they heard somewhere else and didn't investigate it. So while I definitely reject the pandemic conspiracy because of the overwhelming evidence to the contrary, it does not mean that one should reject all components within, not offhand, all the pieces that people have put together into what is a grander conspiracy. You shouldn't just dismiss them because you associate them with a grander conspiracy, this pandemic conspiracy. Because in fact, my dear skeptical friends, something that I'm trying to get through to people, and why we're going to be launching a game show soon for The Line with this very theme, you are missing that this is a logical fallacy. It's actually a few, but it fits one the most. The one it fits the most is called the fallacy of division, which is the fallacy of assuming the characteristics of a whole must be the characteristics of its parts. It's actually the opposite of the fallacy of composition, which is that a component, like a car has rubber tires, therefore a car is made of rubber. That would be a composition fallacy. This is the opposite. The car is made of rubber, therefore we'll say doors are made of rubber. I was going to say tires again, but the tires are made of rubber, but not because of that fallacy. And the car is also I should have just said the car is made of metal, and so the tires must be metal. That would have made more sense. I didn't prepare my fallacy examples, which in and of itself is not a fallacy, but maybe it should be. And you could also point to that this is also a type of genetic fallacy and a hasty generalization fallacy. So I suppose my main message here is, hey, let's not commit fallacies. That'd be dope. I am offering you now the opportunity. Leave a comment, email me. You can call the voicemail, like so many kind people have used it so far, and let me know if you would like a special episode of this podcast, a sort of a extra segment separate from everything else that would document the idea here. Essentially, I think I would call it something like, is the lab leak theory a conspiracy? And then go into depth why the question is open, and which things certainly are and are not conspiracies that are elements of all of that. But now we will move on to something else, to the actual show, to the things we're meant to be here doing. We'll do the actual thing. We'll talk about the news. We'll talk about what's going on. We'll talk about the election as it is coming up. And today, the guest I have for you is always in high demand, whatever I do, because while he is a biologist and that's super boring, he's also, in my opinion, I think the best science communicator on YouTube. But now he's requested I dial back the enthusiasm. So who gives a shit? It's Forrest Valkai. That would be your cue to say hello, as this is a podcast, actually, mostly audio. Dead air is horrible.
No, it's okay. I'm just laughing because that actually is exactly what I asked you to do. Here's this fucking guy.
How are you doing, man?
Besides I forgot it's mainly podcast. Hey, everybody. Yeah, no, I'm super stoked to be here. In no way did Jimmy Snow call me, waking me up out of a dead sleep, and demand that I get on his podcast right now.
Out of a dead sleep at the time we had prior agreed to podcast.
That's neither here nor there. That's neither here nor there.
Later in the morning. Now, unfortunately, it then got a little delayed when he got on because there was some tech issues to resolve, which is why you're seeing me at a different angle with a different camera that is less flattering and captures less just how much weight I've lost and how good my hair looks right now. But that's okay. This podcast is not my contribution to some sort of like MTV YouTuber dating show. I've thought about doing one of those, like a bachelor, a YouTube bachelor, but as a queer, I'm a pansexual polyamorous person. So it's only one episode because you meet the 32 bachelors, bachelorettes, and bachelor thems, I'll call it. You meet the 32 of them, and then all of them win.
And then that's just the show.
Yes.
The show is just everyone introducing themselves.
Everyone, would you take this rose? It's all of them. All of them do.
God.
Unless somebody had better hair than me, I'd probably get rid of them. Do you have any thoughts you want to share before we jump into our first segment called Upvote, Downvote, which I'm positive you know about it because you were saying how you watched every episode so far. You love this show. I'm just kidding. We've actually only done that on one of the episodes so far. We're experimenting.
Yeah, I have no idea what we're doing. You haven't told me what we're doing yet. You just asked me to be here. I can say that like I really hope that the intro music was as loud as I heard it. Because when you do that introduction, I listened to that entire intro song and a couple of sparse words broke through from you. But that song was just loud as fuck. And then it was just you kind of quiet in the background. And every now and then I could decipher something you said. And I hope that's exactly how this show starts, because that would be fucking hysterical.
Unfortunately, it's important enough to not do it as a bit. And what am I coming up on? 7 years in this world of media production and content creation. Yeah. I should be able to pull off a little bit of production that isn't dog shit. Why don't you tell, before we jump into Upvote, Downvote, which is a segment where I'm going to present the news to you with reduced nuanced titles. You'll upvote or downvote it, and then I'll reveal to you what you've just upvoted or downvoted. It's awesome. Okay. Before we do that, why don't you tell people, why don't you promote, you have a project you've been working on that you want people to go and give money to?
Yeah, so we just finished the last episode of Roll for Initiative. Came out this last Wednesday, episode 14, Immundus. Roll for Initiative is a game of Tales of the Valiant that Jesse Jurdak and I put together, and several of our friends got together and played. We played over 35 hours of this freaking game over the course of a week. The game was a ton of fun. It's a genuinely awesome game. It's dramatic and it's emotional and it's fun and it's funny and it's great. And I genuinely think it gets better with every single episode. And all of it was to raise money for Doctors Without Borders, who are the real live heroes who are out there saving lives right now in Gaza, in Ukraine, in Sudan, in Yemen, in Congo, in Chad, and in other crisis zones all around the world. And the last episode of the series was episode 14. And now this next Wednesday, we're going to do a live Q&A with the cast to also help raise money. And also, the Atheist Experience has offered to dedicate an entire episode to letting me fundraise for that as well. And so I'll be on the 6th, I think. I don't know when this comes out, but like the 6th of October, I'll be on that show with Dr. Ben, I believe. And we'll be talking about biomedicine and taking calls over there to also raise money for Doctors Without Borders. So as of right now, at this moment, we have raised $24,847 for Doctors Without Borders, and it's only going to go up from there. Even though the series is over, we still have 2 more live stream events to help raise money even further.
That's awesome. Everybody focus, go donate. Make sure you focus on donating between right now and the 5th, and then from the 7th on. Donate in those date ranges. Those are the important dates to go donate and be on the lookout. You know, by the way, we're going to do a fundraiser for the Secular Student Alliance in October, I think.
Oh, that's cool.
Or no, November. We're getting the details all out, but I'll be telling you when we'd like you back for that. Maybe do another golden microphone episode. That was awesome.
Fucking loved that. That was my favorite thing we've done on this channel. It was so good.
It's such a low bar. By the way, this is not on the line. This is a separate thing. He said this channel. This is on my channel, Jimmy Snow, and then everywhere podcasts founded.
One of the channels with your stink on them. You know, I mean, one of those.
What channel doesn't have my stink on it at this point? Forrest Valkai. I built your computer and your microphone. They all have my stink on it.
I got one of my more popular videos is my interview with Donald James Parker, which I ran through your vMix. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry, everybody. I've stunk up everything you like. Let's move on to Upvote, Downvote. Let's get you filled.
Downvote.
We're
going to do it.
My mouth just did not want to cooperate anymore. Let's get you filled in on the news today, and we're going to do so with the beloved segment already. Everybody is saying the New York Times has said this is the best segment anybody's ever done on a podcast ever. Don't research that. Here's how it works. I'm going to present Forrest with some story titles, but with a twist. These titles will be deliberately oversimplified and stripped of any nuance. let's just say, for example, that there was a story about a cow wandering onto a highway. I might present this title as Fat Mama Blocks Traffic with Her Big Ass. Forrest will then upvote or downvote, judging the book by its cover. And then I'm going to reveal what the actual story at hand is. For every question he gets right, Donald Trump will save a pet dog from being eaten.
By immigrants in Ohio.
Is
upvoting just means that I like it? Is that what? And downvoting means I don't like it?
If you were on Reddit, you would be like, I have to pick one. Oh, good. Yeah, this one sounds good. I want to raise this in the results. Let's raise it up.
Okay.
Republican. This is in story number 1. Republican supports alleged Fido munchers in a town not from The Simpsons.
Okay, so that is eating cats and dogs in Ohio.
Yeah, I feel like I gave it away a little bit.
And see, here's the problem is that I don't like that that's a real thing because that's stupid, dangerous rhetoric, but it is deeply funny. And so I want to upvote it, but I want to downvote it because it is racist and dangerous.
The good news is this story is worthy of an upvote because it turns out that this whole thing is not going over so well, even amongst Republicans in Ohio. And this week, the Ohio governor is sending troopers and $2.5 million to the city of Springfield to help out with the medical needs and work needs of the I was going to say millions, 15,000 Haitian immigrants and other immigrants there as well. He is actually doing a good thing and basically saying, fuck off, you guys. These people are ours now, and we're going to take them and we're going to treat them like people because that's a good thing to do. So at this one's
all the people who are only listening can't see how bad the lighting is on my face right now because I've got a window over there and the morning sun is shining through and just lighting me insanely. Yeah, that's cool.
You know, a little poster board. You could just put a bunch of sticky notes on it.
I usually record at night and it's not a problem. It's only now because of your choices and your actions that this is an issue that we have. Yeah.
For the record, I would like also to mention that to the people listening that I did tell them when we were talking about this that the other option would be recording late Thursday night so that it could be out still in the morning. I'm going to say yes because I remember thinking I should tell you that, but I don't know. I hope I did.
I don't remember it, but who knows?
That was the
other
one.
What's the next one? Let's do the thing.
Number 2, upvote, downvote. Not meth, kind of doing meth stuff sometimes.
Not meth, kind of doing meth stuff sometimes?
Yeah.
Interesting new development into drug trials, and that has huge biomedical implications. And how cool that fentanyl can also be an upper instead of just let's talk about it.
I like that you're trying to guess what the story is on each one too. You get no points for correctly guessing. According to NBC News, high doses of ADHD drugs linked to greater risk of psychosis. This is from some studies done recently that a lot of people being treated for ADHD are taking large doses and having a 30% increase in the chances of experiencing psychosis. This is going to cause people to inquire and adjust their doses nationwide.
That's why I remain unmedicated. But
that's why I just do the straight up meth. They are amphetamines. That's why not meth. They're specifically the amphetamine brands of ADHD meds that are being found to do this and tend to be in a higher dosage. Story number 3. I like this one. Ill-reputed flyboys choose to walk instead of fly.
What is a flyboy?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll go from there. Can I ask
questions? I feel answering the question would sort of give away what we're talking about.
Can I look it up? Can I look up what a flyboy is?
No. I don't know what it may not even match whatever the actual slang is. It's just upvote, downvote. There's not any
ill-reputed flyboys.
I feel like you think you're worried that you're going to endorse something horrible. And I am limited on how bad I would make a person look.
I'm trying to figure out what am I actually is it ill-reputed flyboy? So bad pilots are doing what was the second half of the statement?
Choose to walk instead of fly.
Bad pilots stop being pilots. That's a good thing. It's upvoting.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're upvoting. But in fact, what actually happened is that this according to CNBC, Boeing factory workers strike for first time since 2008 after overwhelmingly reject contract, which means that they are going on strike. However, Boeing's reputation in the last year has plummeted incredibly. So this organization with already a horrible reputation, ill repute, will now see its workers walking a picket line and refusing to create more, because when, after years of not giving raises and not taking care of people just on the cost of living, they wanted to propose a mere 25% wage increase after such a long period of time, when actually covering all of the missed years would need to be somewhere closer to 40%. So,
all right, yeah. And also, like safety regulations and not killing whistleblowers.
Yep. That'd be that. I mean, allegedly. The contract was offered and rejected by 95% nearly of the workers. So a very unanimous fuck you. You have a lot of work to do. This isn't close. And if you think that a little tweak will get you there, 95% eat my ass. It's ass flavored.
I remain on the upvote side. That's fantastic.
That's true. It was a good thing, but what you thought it was not. And I'm happy that you are setting yourself up for failure instead of just saying upvote, downvote.
Sure.
Yeah. How many dogs is Donald Trump eating so far?
At least 2.
Because as we know, every accusation from the Republicans turns out to be a confession.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
The fact that Republicans are yelling about immigrants eating dogs means that they're eating dogs. They're eating the dogs. They're eating them. God, I assume you saw that moment in the debate.
Yeah, I saw that one. And I also saw where he said that Kamala Harris wants to give illegal immigrants in prison transgender surgeries.
Yeah.
And that is the fucking craziest just buzzword salad of just nonsense. Literally illegal aliens, prison, transgender surgeries, just literally just everything he could think would start a controversy, just all together at once.
The irony being that many of the things he would say about her are things where I'm like, the reason why I know it's not true is that would make me much more excited to vote for her.
Right.
She's a socialist. She's a Marxist. I wish, sir. I wish.
Have you seen the memes going around now of people in like a xenomorph or an ET costume wearing like a tutu, and they're like alien after getting the transgender surgery in prison? It's so good.
Number 5, anti-trans machine too wet to satiate.
Anti-trans machine.
Yep.
Too wet to satiate.
And I'm going to give you a little bit of a clue. Anti-trans doesn't necessarily mean what you think it means, but also it does.
Okay. Is this about J.K. Rowling is doing a new Harry Potter series and like they're having a hard time finding a cast for it because nobody wants to fucking work with her? Is that what it is?
No, because as I think what you are describing is the casting call, which has gone out for 11-year-olds. And I would not be using the phrase too wet to satiate to refer to 11-year-olds in any way.
I didn't know that, but that is very funny. No, I just heard online that there was some casting call, and apparently like there was some controversy. I don't know anything about it. I heard that was a thing, and I thought maybe I could connect. You were calling her an anti-trans machine, and that would be also funny. It's okay. So it says anti-trans machine too wet to satiate. Mm-hmm. What? You've moistened a thing to the point where it can no longer be satisfied, and it is a anti-LGBT robot. Fucking it's man. I don't like whatever this situation is. I'm going to downvote it. I don't like. I'm happy that it's not satiated. So upvote. Fuck that thing. Whatever it is. Moisten it further.
To tell you the truth, I don't know what the correct one on most of these would be, but. Here's according to AP News, a report. Is
both an option? Can I do both?
Yeah, we'll do both. You can't, but we'll do both. Because I don't know. It took 50,000 gallons of water to put out the Tesla semi-fire that came when a Tesla semi slammed into another, I think it was vehicle, and caused a fire in California. 50,000 gallons of water. Now, the funny thing about the word anti-trans machine is that one could argue that the transmission in a Tesla is so different from what is a typical transmission that it's even weird to kind of call it a transmission for a vehicle anyway. So, but also Elon Musk is a piece of shit. an anti.
That is also true. That is also true.
And it's his machine. The whole thing just goes together. I thought it was good. All right, here's the one I'm the most proud of. The title. Good luck with it.
Okay.
I think we'll probably get pieces of it. We'll find out. The story number 5, the last one before we look in the polls and then move on to the story and do some little reality check-in for the whole world here. The big stories where there's no game involved. Here's number 5. Badlands adjudicator Fargo's parasite eradication ban.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Badlands. Say it all again.
Badlands adjudicator Fargo's parasite eradication ban. I'm very proud of this one.
That's a lot. Okay, so
leave a comment. Everybody pause right here if you're watching on YouTube or anywhere where comments are. Pause here and pause after I say the sentence, actually. Otherwise, you're just going to pause and never come back. What you're going to do in a moment is pause, then write down the answer that you think this is, and then unpause, and then tell us whether you got it right or not, and then send the comment. Just telling people also, to pause right now. How would they know when to unpause if they followed?
Exactly. Yeah. Ruin the show. While you're paused, go donate to Doctors Without Borders, the Rule for Initiative. Fuck, man. Okay, so we got a desert judge who is like stopping people from preventing ticks. Man, I don't like that. I don't like what that is. I don't like what that guy's doing. I'm going to say downvote.
I'm going to break it down. So the Badlands, you know where the Badlands are?
No.
North Dakota. The Badlands are in North Dakota. An adjudicator would be a judge.
Because when you drive through like New Mexico, it's got like El Malpais and everything. It's a Badlands out there. I thought that's what it was. Yeah,
the place called the Badlands, and then I think there's even a park that's called it, like the Teddy Roosevelt Badlands might be out there. So it might be called something like that. Some Teddy Roosevelt importance out there. A North Dakota judge, Fargo's being the idea of, even though many other things happen in Fargo, I think we all associate that with murdering. A judge in North Dakota has struck down the North Dakota abortion ban, as in the parasite eradication ban. There you go. This according to APC News, and rules that access is protected in part, besides ruling that the state constitution protects abortion access. This is from the article. District Judge Bruce Romanek also said that the law is unconstitutional because it is too vague to be fairly enforced. He agrees with critics who said the law wasn't clear how its limited exceptions applied, allowing doctors to be prosecuted if other colleagues later disagreed with their medical decisions. And
I an asshole?
The Republican attorney, the Republican attorney general has vowed to appeal, but it's a pretty strong case. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I downvoted it because abortion shouldn't be controversial, and this never should have happened. It was a fundamental downvote. You see?
Yes, you're making it work. I get it.
Yeah. Get it. I was just thinking, this is a podcast, and like I've got my mic set to normal settings, but like my voice is still a little gravel rasp. I haven't like done any vocal warm up, and I'm not trying to. Like I could very easily talk differently and probably be fine, but I could also like turn up the sensitivity on this mic a lot and get really close to it. That's good. We could just do like really gravel, like vocal fry, like ear scratchy podcast. That'd be a lot of fun.
We might do something like that again in the after show. So in the after show, on top of like, I've got a card game. We just answer questions from these cards, and then we make some promos for Jimmy Snow as a podcast. And they're basically just like improv games essentially. And Eve and I on our episode did like a Jimmy Snow has a podcast ASMR. Wait, was it Eve or was it Sarah? Which one of it? I think Sarah was the one who we did it with. And so it was like, you'd like crinkle something and be like, hear the crinkle of Jimmy Snow has a podcast. Just referring to everything we're using as Jimmy Snow has a podcast. Anyway, there's lots of fun things we could do. I hope you all enjoyed that crinkle. The fact that some of you got hard is weird. Who do you think's going to win the election? We're going to move to the polls now.
Probably Harris. Probably Kamala Harris, if I had to guess. Because it is deeply upsetting that it is this close.
Yep.
But the actual reality of the situation is that Donald Trump is out of touch with actual reality. And the fact that he picked JD Vance, it's like he wants to lose. It's really weird. JD Vance. So Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris.
Not yet.
So when asked about the thing that I'm not talking about, I guess JD Vance said he doesn't care because she's a billionaire and doesn't understand normal Americans because she's so rich. Yeah. And it's like, who is your fucking running mate, dude? Who goes up on stage and brags about how rich he is all the time and lives in a fucking golden shit mansion that looks like the fucking 80s vomited. And like that's what you're doing. And so like at the end of the day, you've got a dude who genuinely wants people to believe that immigrants are coming here in droves, that all around the world, all countries are experiencing reduction in crime because they are sending criminals to America to eat our dogs and cats and rape our women and children. And also that he is the only option to fucking fix this. It is just absolute nutty lunacy, fascist talk. And the reason why I mentioned earlier about like the eating dogs cats thing, I was like, it's so racist and dangerous. It's not just that it's dehumanizing to those people. It's not just that it's a scapegoating lie used to demonize a group of immigrants in order to make them the scarier thing than you. It's also that it's so fucking absurd that a lot of people that hear it are going to say that's so fucking crazy. He couldn't possibly be lying. It's as if he got up there and said the moon is made of cheese. There's no fucking way that he would say that with a straight face if it wasn't at least a little bit true. And then they're more likely to believe it because somebody in a great position of authority on national television is saying it. And even the fact that it's so fucking nuts, it must be a little bit true. And then they're more likely to believe the more benign lies that he tells and just follow along with him when he says things like that the election was fucking stolen from him. And that is deeply, deeply dangerous for so many reasons. And the fact that this crazy fucking old man, literally his actual evidence for that, his actual source on that claim was, I saw it on television. Because he and almost his entire base is old white dudes who believe everything they see on TV. And so he's just reinforcing that. And like, that is so fucking stupid and dangerous. Meanwhile, you've got Kamala Harris, who like at least knows what year she's in, and is able to communicate effectively about things that presidents should know. And it's amazing to me. Like, I think she's fine as a candidate. Obviously, I don't like everything about her, but like, holy shit, it's better than all the alternatives that we've had so far. But it is amazing to me just how fucking low the bar is for her. To be just a halfway decent human being and would be amazing.
Part of me wonders how amazing her performance was this last week. And the fact that we haven't seen a significant nudge in the polls. Maybe it solidified some polls, but hasn't nudged it. If that exact performance were she only to have a white penis, if it would still be close, because at this point, it being close just on issues and the words they say is crazy. So what I was going to say, what I was saying is just that it's insane how low the bar is for her and how infinitely lower the bar is for him because he remains a white man who said some dumb shit, and so people are going to believe him. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I'm banking on it. I think that it's weird. I try not to be too hopeful because I remember feeling hopeful in back in 2016 and being like, there's no fucking way. And then you get further. I was like, there's no fucking way though. And then you get further. I'm like, yeah, but there's no fucking way though. And then you get further and like, I'm kind of the same place now. So I'm trying not to hold my breath, but I really do think that she's got a shot and she deserves it. Yeah, Facebook thinks I want to see all the posts I made about 8 years ago now being so wrong. Facebook's like, hey, remember this post from 8 years ago when you were like, you guys excited? In about a month and a half, we're going to get to go and watch Hillary Clinton completely blow this out of the water. You guys excited for the first woman president? Y'all excited?
Yeah.
Like, just absolutely so wrong. And it's I've been burned before, and the contrast has been obvious before, twice before. But the time that it was a white penis, the contrast seemed to be sufficient enough, and the time it wasn't one of those. And it's not even just you have to have a white penis. You also have to want to keep your white penis. There's that added category on top of it now. Yeah.
That's true. And your penis has to be prayerful. Has to be a prayerful penis, or at least pretend to be.
My penis, it always faces Mecca. What a weird twist that would be. I'm putting together the numbers on if the polling was correct. And obviously, we all know nobody needs to leave the dumb comment of like, the polls have been wrong before. Yeah, no shit. They have been wrong before. They've gotten better. It's a dumb thing to dismiss that as therefore, because I'm sure Donald Trump is so dumb, for sure he's going to lose. One might say that is a very stupid person's game. But as the polls line up, and I'm just checking in on the Pennsylvania poll because I don't have that one yet accounted for. That one is set to even. So at the moment, if the polls as they are currently were correct, we would wait to see which way Pennsylvania went, because it would be 267 to 252 with the Republicans favored. You need 270 to win. And if the polls were correct today, unfortunately, it would literally just come down to Pennsylvania, which is currently in a tie. We wouldn't be able to call it if the polls actually represented the vote. Now, that said, there are certain things that I don't worry as much about. For example, Georgia, I actually think will likely go to Harris. I think because of which groups of people delivered the win for Biden in 2020, I think they are more interested in a win for Harris in 2024. I think their ground game is great. And the current lead, I think, in Georgia is only like 2% in the regional polling. Not 2%, but 2 points. The same thing. It's a 2-point lead for the Republicans. And that is similar to the polling before. The thing about polling is it only tells you what the people who registered to vote say they are going to do. However, the thing that it doesn't account for is the number of people who say they're going to go vote. Some large group of them don't show up the day of, whether it's because they're lazy or whatever information. And so, and on top of that, there are many elections where there are enough people to flip it that just because of that, they don't. So for example, in Texas, in the last election, I believe the number is 20%. If 20% of just the people who registered, and remember, we purge our voter rolls here and everything, like you have to basically redeclare your intention to vote. Close to that, nearly every election. Everybody of all the Democrats who said they were going to vote that didn't then vote, if only 20% of that group had voted, it would have flipped for Biden, literally just amongst the ones who didn't. And so when you look at the enthusiasm for local groups, I think that actually puts Georgia probably one that she is going to manage to pull off. I think Wisconsin is probably good for them, and Michigan is probably good for them because of the Tim Walz aspect. Go ahead.
Also, after, I'm not supposed to talk about this, after Taylor Swift endorsed Kamala Harris,
oh my God.
She included a link to register to vote in her post, and over 400,000 people have used that link. And so like those polls might not accurately reflect the huge surge in youth voters that is about to happen. Could potentially about to happen. Everyone saw it.
No one saw it.
Except for the people who were only listening.
No one
they
saw
didn't
it.
see.
No
they didn't see
know.
You just spill water all over yourself.
How
like
would
a
they know?
lunatic.
How would they? No one's going to know. No one saw it. Didn't happen.
Yeah, like that's the young Parsons of this country could once again be the thing that saves it from disaster. And honestly, I fucking hope that happens, and I hope it keeps happening, and I hope that Gen Z and eventually Gen Alpha fucking completely turn our entire government on its head with their votes.
I'm glad that Gen Z voted in higher numbers than other generations prior, but I think we should maybe cool it on the then and they saved us when in fact black women saved us. That is
also true.
And one of the things is they'll like yell, well, yeah, but you guys didn't. I voted in every election. So regardless of what the numbers of the demographics are, you don't get to throw that at me that I didn't vote in the past.
Yeah, and let's say like
more than millennials. Sure, you did, but it's still a disgustingly low percentage, especially for how loud and opinionated is. And so I will say all of the generations need to vote more, except the old people who need to vote less.
Isn't it I could be messing this up, but I seem to remember that like there were more registered millennials than there were total voters in the 2016 election. And like we very easily could have decided like what happened, but like a very small percentage of us tried or something.
More
like
registered millennials. So you're saying that the number of millennials plus who voted plus the ones who registered to vote but didn't vote was higher than the number of total people who voted in the election. But 65% of the people, total population, voted in 2016. So I think these numbers might be impossible.
They are. They certainly are. I think I said them wrong, and I realized immediately after I said it that was wrong. But like, but it's on the internet forever now.
They are registering 3-4 times the millennials. They are voting. Yeah. More millennials voted than exist in all of China. More millennials voted than the population.
The second that left my mouth, I'm like, wait a minute, that's not right. It was some fucking thing. I'm looking it up. Hold on. More.
So a higher percentage of millennials voted than the number of millennials who voted for Gen Z. What will then be said is, but in the election, as far as like the percentage of millennials who voted when they were younger, it was a higher percentage of Gen Z who started voting earlier than how early the average millennial started voting. And that's good. And I'm glad to see that improvement. By the way, that improvement has been consistent generation over generation. But I'm not ready to still give a thank you, Gen Z, for saving us. Thank you for doing what Black women actually did for us, because their ground game, their organization, especially in Georgia, that's what tipped it. That's what tipped it. Thank you, Gen Z, for doing the fucking least you could do. Actually, that's not true. Y'all, and it's not just you. Again, I just am opposed to giving all kinds of credit because we eked out slightly less shitty than usual shitty things we do. But the actual least you could do is what a lot of your friends are doing. And that's just posting about it on the internet and bragging that you're not going to vote because you're not getting your magic candidate that is impossible to get. I don't know. I'm more cynical than you are, perhaps.
Yeah, no, it is frustrating when you have like kind of the all or nothing voters where it's like, I'm not going to vote in this election because this isn't the perfect fucking candidate who's saying literally everything I want. And like, I've talked about on this show, or not this show, on one of the line shows before, several times that like, I can totally fucking understand with genocide on the table, why you would have that be a deal breaker, no matter what the other policies are. I can totally understand why that's a serious issue for you. But yeah, like there's the old adage of getting on the bus that's going in the direction of your house, even if it isn't going all the way to your house. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like having somebody who isn't going to be worse, or you should say having someone who is as bad might be better than someone who is worse. And that also fucking sucks.
The dumb thing of they're as bad as each other is just what dumb people say all the time. And it's dumb. And if you've been saying that and you're listening right now, I want you to know that you're not the exception. You're dumb. But let's say they were. If you had two that are as bad, but one of them has been shown they can be changed and influenced, and the other shows they can't, then you go with the one that shows they can. That they can be moved, that they can be changed on things. Yeah, they haven't been changed to the point we want. But let's just say today they were identical, but one you had a shot at changing and the other you didn't. And these are the choices. You vote for the one you have a shot with. But if you actually say that they are identical, I want to restate here. That's dumb. You might be dumb, but you're at the very least participating in being dumb for seemingly to justify not leaving your house on November 6th, which I can appreciate. November 5th.
Right. They both support genocide. And also one of them wants to eradicate trans people. So one is also supporting a different kind of other genocide. And it's like, you can't not see that.
There's also a difference in even the support of the genocide isn't identical. Like literally,
no, it's not.
If today the ceasefire was announced and it was going to be over, even at that bare minimum bar, but like even higher, like they've got programs set to rebuild Gaza and take care of refugees and all sorts of things. Like, let's say that was announced. One of them would be happy and support that, and the other one would go, is it too late to turn this around? Could we, I'm not saying which one I'm saying is doing it, but he would sound like this. And he would say, it would be a lot better if we put that off until after the election, because this is an issue I could run on. Frankly, this is not a good, I would let them go in and bomb, baby, bomb, like hell.
Yep. That's a real thing too. That's an actual thing that already happened.
Yeah.
That's not speculation. That already happened.
Right. It is the situation where, you do. All right. I harp on this too much, and dumb people reply in comments. Oh, so you're okay with genocide? You're dumb. Well done. You did it. You dumbed it up, and then you dumbed some more. And now we dumb. All right. Let me just message to my production assistant. Just cut the third segment. He decided he doesn't want to wait. For Allah. I'm just kidding. There's no person here. I'm just yelling out to nowhere.
I don't know what's going on. I'm just. Because
you insisted on one of the segments is about the Taylor Swift whole thing. There's more to it though. So luckily, in fact, anyway, the polls right now show Harris is overall leading. However, there is more than enough of a way by which Trump can win the Electoral College. He has some leads in some nice states. Florida, I still think, despite having a +6 point lead in Florida, I think the fact that marijuana and abortion is on the ballot, that it polls that way. But the day of, I would say that my dream scenario is that I know how it would be, that like what happened in Kansas when they put abortion on the ballot, there is a rude awakening for Republicans on abortion issues. When you put a 6-week abortion ban, an extreme ban, and you put that up for a constitutional vote, I'm sitting here going, absolutely, that would be the tits. If that was to be pulled off and Florida were to flip, that means only 14, besides the ones that are, there's no real blue state that's a solid blue state that has a shot of being an upset. There's not really any. I mean, every now and then people will look at New Hampshire, but Republicans abandoned New Hampshire. They'll look at Maine. Republicans have largely abandoned Maine. They're not even really trying for those anymore. In the past, you might have considered Colorado, New Mexico as swing states, maybe even a little bit of Virginia, but those states have pretty well shown that they are anti-Trump, even if they have the potential you could perceive of them going Republican at a different time in the future. So those ones, I'd say they're all solid. I'd say the 226 that you can count on are locked. The only one that I would say maybe there's a little bit, maybe that extra district in Nebraska, maybe the extra that often goes Democrat, maybe that one can be flipped, and that'll only be good for one. So 225 locked in. If like the last few elections, that Nebraska thing, 226. If you then win Florida, which I think has 30 electoral college votes, that would bring you to 256, meaning that you now only need 14 more to win. The fact of the matter is, Wisconsin or Michigan, it's not very conceivable that they won't really like the fact that she picked Tim Walz. And so it would be, in that scenario with 256, let me move back to the map. Winning just one of the states that offer more than 15 votes, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. One of those, and she wins. Now, here's the nightmare scenario that I've been enjoying proposing to people, and I don't know if you know that this actually could happen. I need to save the map where it happens because I've forgotten what the exact breakdown is that gets you here. But there is a map that exists within the margin of error on polling, as in not only is it possible, you could say that it has at least as much probability as many of the other maps where the Democrats get 269 votes and the Republicans get 269 votes. Are you aware of what then happens? Do you already know what happens if nobody gets to 270 votes?
I just want to point out that for the podcast listeners who aren't watching the video, I yawned and made kind of a weird face, and that tickled me. And I've spent that entire time Jimmy was talking just making weird fucking faces in the camera because I know most people will never see them.
I'm not even looking at the faces you're making in the camera. So fair enough.
I've just been here being fucking strange. So in that situation, the Speaker of the House done it. And there's one who No, I'm missing it
Well,
up.
and most people don't know. This wasn't like a challenge of like test your knowledge of American politics. Legitimately, most people don't know. So what happens if they both get 269 votes? It's kind of cool because it's not happened since John Quincy Adams. But you take the top 3 electoral college votes winners for the presidency and the House votes, but the House votes with 1 vote per state, meaning that California gets 1 vote and Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Utah, you could probably throw in there, despite having all a combined population of less than California would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 votes. 9-1 California. Yeah. So in that scenario, Donald Trump would win. Here's the funny thing. If you look at the polling for the Senate, there is a good chance that Democrats will hold on to a 50, if not win back by 1 or 2 senators. In that scenario, you could also have a Senate, which is more or at least tied with Democrats, Republicans. And the incoming Congress is who determines these things. The Senate chooses the vice president. So if that was the case, the president would be Donald Trump. And because you only get to pick between the 2 for vice president, the vice president would likely be Tim Walz. There is a very realistic chance, as good as almost any of the other possible outcomes that are within these swing states being distributed, there is a non-zero chance and even a somewhat viable chance that in the end, Donald Trump will be president and Tim Walz will be vice president. And at that point, we will all begin our rooting campaign for KFC, for high cholesterol, for we're going to put up a collection. Everybody, we're going to be sending gift cards to Donald Trump at the White House for more McDonald's, for more KFC. We will give that man the money, whatever he wants. Isn't that freaking gnarly, though?
We're going to build that wall inside your fucking artery.
That's right. Great. That's right. Isn't that insane? That is an actual possibility.
That is nutty.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. So it's one of those things where it's like, if Donald Trump is going to win, I hope that's the way he wins. I hope he has to put up with having Tim Walz as the vice president, because Tim Walz then gets the office, down the hall.
Just call him an asshole every day. Just that's his whole job.
Hey, this is your 2:00 pose. What? Your 2:00 pose? What is that? Your 2:00 pose. Your 2:00 POS. I'm here to remind you, you're a piece of shit. Okay, thank you.
Every day.
I know. All right, here are the 3 news stories. We're going to go through them pretty quick because we've already going a little long here. You can choose which one you want to hit first. The 3 I want to talk about, they're all related to the election. We've got Trump, the follow-up from the debate, the things we've learned, him losing the debate, claiming victory, and whether or not he will do another debate. We have the Swift saga that turned into attacks from Elon and includes replies from Elon Musk's Dr. Vivian. Or we could talk about the story that I'm actually content to skip actually for today for the sake of time. But Laura Loomer, who is now a conspiracy theorist traveling with Donald Trump, is causing a lot of internal division in the Republican Party and going after and attacking people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lindsey Graham, who have been calling out how that she is when Kamala Harris, or not Kamala Harris, what am I saying? When Marjorie Taylor Greene calls you racist,
it's fucking wild, right?
That's pretty, and not referring to racist against whites, because obviously she'd do that. When she calls you racist for something you say about a brown person, a person of Indian heritage, that's pretty bad. I'm content to. We don't have to do that one for the sake of time.
We can touch that one for a second, because that really is the whole story, is that Laura Loomer is a remarkably more racist than Marjorie Taylor Greene, and went on some fucking tirade about how if Kamala wins, she's going to make the White House stink of curry or some shit like that.
Right.
And just some really just off the wall, ridiculous shit to say. And that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people, was like, hey, this is fucking disgusting racist rhetoric that doesn't represent the Republican Party. And I'm like, fucking holy shit, I agree with you. Also, may I present to you a mirror, bitch? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And now those two
represent the Republican Party, though.
those two are arguing over who Daddy Trump loves more. And it's fucking very funny to see.
Which I have no reason to believe the rumors, only that there are many people spreading rumors about why Laura Loomer, and people who people who are alleged to know them and that situation. People were saying, you know, I'm amongst these people and this is happening. Whether or not that is what's happening, and she suddenly yells out, "No, he loves me more," because you know, whatever. It'll be interesting. I will say this. She is a conspiracy theorist. She's a 9/11 truther. It is a disgrace that Donald Trump had him with her at his side at the 9/11 memorial. That is a disgusting thing. She has been banned by most social media platforms, though Twitter, wishing to be called something else, did reinstate Laura Loomer, because of course they did, because Elon will always
be Elon.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He will take care of his people and he will fuck over. But you know, this is where the marketplace of ideas is, the town hall, whatever. But then you can't say the word cis. If you try, it will say, just so you know, this is considered a slur on this platform. So when he said that the freedom of speech things would have to be only restricted by law, he means the law of Elon. I can't do it.
You can say the N-word on that platform as much as you would like. But you cannot say the word cisgender, because that is a slur, and it's
that slurs too much. Anymore. I can't do an Elon impression without I gotta put peanut butter in my mouth. He always sounds like he's eating peanut butter. Like go to a coach, man. It doesn't have to be this way. She has been banned for her severe anti-Muslim rhetoric. That is what is usually her brand. But as you say, that Kamala Harris, who already works in the White House, can't be president because then the White House would smell like curry.
Right.
So these things add up.
Yep. Sounds like her.
Where do you want to go first? Swift or?
Let's go to Swift. Because I feel like that's another one that we can get through pretty quickly.
In the hours after the debate, Taylor Swift endorsed on Instagram Kamala Harris, leading to, I think they said, a 500% increase in registration. Hopefully it's going to also be a 500% increase in people actually voting. And hopefully that is a 500% increase in people registering because they like what Taylor said, and not an increase because the Republicans felt threatened and well, now I have to participate if Taylor came out. You know, she's sort of our own little, our American Princess Diana, only with a way bigger carbon footprint, way bigger. Like kind of ridiculously big, but yes.
Sometimes, you know, your private jet is so big that you need to take a private jet to get from one side of your private jet to the other side of your private jet. You know, we've all been there.
And it's nice to have the option when you're in Australia to be able to use your spare private jet to bring your boyfriend on what was it, like a 16-hour flight, so he could spend 3 hours with you in the afternoon of the weekend and then get back on and go back to play a game.
Yep.
As we all do.
In the morning when I wake up, I just take the private jet over to the bathroom, and it's much more convenient. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how I do it. Also, I
was on Seth Andrews.
It's not quite that. I can only poop in the air, so I use the bathroom on the private jet, but I wait for them to take off and come down. You know, that extra fuel burn helps. What were you going to say about Seth Andrews?
I was on Seth Andrews' show a little while ago, and he was like, I forgot how we got on the topic of billionaires. I was like, fuck billionaires. And he was like, what about Taylor Swift? She seems nice. I'm like, yeah, she seems like a very nice person. Also, she's a fucking billionaire, and there's a lot of problems with that.
Right.
And I at that time, I knew what kind of ground I was treading on and how problematic it was going to be. I'm very happy to see in the months since then. Maybe it is because of my algorithm, probably because I've been interacting with that content, but like a lot more people are coming out and be like, hey, also so glad that you have a social conscience, maybe apply it more uniformly. You know what I mean? Sure. Like that'd be great.
Yeah. By the way, I'm glad she did the endorsement. Me too. It's hard to, like with the thing earlier, like, what, we're going to kiss Gen Z's ass because they were slightly less shitty. It's the same thing where it's like, here's the thing that is good. Be slightly less shitty. And in this case, she's being slightly less shitty and she's using her platform for good. I'm not going to excuse that she is wrecking the planet and is a billionaire. And I've found a line of conversation that I'm finding even Republicans, a line of not quite questioning, but direction to take it. Even Republicans end up going like, Yeah. So billionaires aren't great, which is this. Generally, I will say, let's stop calling it $1 billion. Let's stop calling it billions of dollars. Let's call dollars what they are. Security. Money isn't money. It's security. So there's a large group of people who have all of the security, or a small group of people who have all of the security. They're not hoarding the dollars. They're hoarding the security. And we all recognize that's what it is. And they have most of the security for a few of them. And then the other 90 to 95% fight over a much smaller portion of remaining security. Hoarding security is immoral. And when you do that, it kind of takes it out of this materialist idea, not the type of materialists we are, but people who are talking about, oh, you care, so you're very worldly. It takes it out of that idea of like, they're hoarding the ability to buy Ferraris, and it turns it into they're hoarding the ability to not die in an emergency room because you couldn't afford getting checked for the lump on your neck that was there for a long time that turned out to be stage 4 thyroid cancer that had, when you initially noticed it and gotten it checked, would have been easily taken care of. But now you're in the ER because you're at the end of your life because you were too afraid of the bill that getting it checked would do. That's what they're hoarding. The ability to do that. And I'm finding that's being more effective. Anyway, let's read the endorsement. Actually, let's not read the whole thing. Everybody's read it at this point, but it ends with, I've done my research and I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do and the choice is yours to make. So the endorsement before that is, I'm casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in 2024. However, she doesn't tell you to do so. She says, do your research, which I don't know. I feel that shows she's a little out of touch because, the dumbest people in the world think they can confidently say the phrase, I've done my research, but that's okay.
Yeah. I don't hate her saying that. I think like, I understand. I agree that it is a little out of touch to say like, oh, who knows between these candidates, well,
what's the motivation if not to just not disenfranchise Trump voters, which we should do.
It seems that the motivation is to not come across as telling people what to do. Because she doesn't want to come across as saying like she is deliberately telling people all my fans should vote this way, which I can appreciate.
Easily said, I'm voting for them, and I think you should too on this basis. This way, I think doing the yours choice to make, your research, even just saying, I don't even love the phrase your research. It creates this idea that research is personal and opinionated and so subjective. To me, I'm already like, who says do your research the most to me? Fucking anti-vaxxers and flat earthers.
That is true. Yeah. I think honestly, like it's why I rarely wear my question everything shirt anymore, because that phrase has been co-opted by people who just who think that skepticism is the art of disagreeing with literally everybody about everything. And the more controversial the opinion is, the more important it is to take it, because that means you're a skeptic. But yeah, no, I do think she could have been a little bit more hardline about it and said like, I'm voting for Harris and Walz because Trump is so fucking awful as well. Like she could have put that in there and then also encourage people to vote however you're going to vote, but I encourage you to vote. And I would have been fine with that too. And so I think that it's important to encourage people to register and vote regardless of how they're going to do it. I think encouraging people to contribute to the political process is important. And I don't fault her too much for the way she worded that. Obviously, I wish she would have been a little bit stronger about it. But that's also because I think Trump is very dangerous and I'm not a fucking billionaire. And so I don't get to just disconnect from that reality because I can buy my way out of the reality. And so
here's my endorsement. I'm voting for Kamala Harris and you should too. And if you're not going to, you should not vote. I don't believe everyone should vote. I believe you shouldn't vote if you want to vote for Donald Trump. Only vote for Kamala Harris. Otherwise, stay home. But if you insist on voting, here's my olive branch. I will drive you to the polls on November 10th.
My fucking private jet.
No, on November 10th, I'll drive you to the polls.
Nice.
I didn't say I'd drive you on election day, but I'll get you there. I will say it's funny that Donald Trump claimed that she's going to pay a price for the endorsement, but also in the days that led up, Elon Musk showed that he only knows one way to try to discredit women, and that is to try to humiliate them sexually. this in his reply on Twitter. Fine, Taylor, you win. I will give you a child and guard your cats with my life. This would be almost funny if it wasn't the fact that he has been such a fucking weirdo and freak, and that this is the line he tried to discredit AOC years ago, that AOC calling him out, he would just go, stop flirting with me, I'm shy. This is the way he only uses it on women. And he's also a fucking weird breeder who's trying to, it seems like he's got 12 kids so far with a bunch of different people that we know of. And I think he's trying to populate Mars himself.
It's literally threatening to impregnate a young woman for disagreeing with him. That's how I'm reading that. Like, you can say it's a joke, not a threat, but actually, though, given his behavior, his position, his wealth and influence, this is literally a fucking old man, a very rich old man, seeing a young woman stand up and say, I'm voting this way, and you're like, hey, I'll fucking put a baby in you, dude. And it's like, fuck, what? How is that your fucking response to anyone ever? You disgusting fucking creep. Yeah. It's so gross. And I said it before and I'll say it again, and it'll mean just as nothing as every other time. I do not and cannot understand why anybody ever takes that motherfucker seriously. Genuinely.
It'll matter more. This is the most popular podcast on Spotify. We just edged out Joe Rogan. Don't fact check that. The funny thing though too is, like, I have a feeling, especially based on her response, that
tonight's gonna be a good
no, tonight's gonna suck. I have a feeling that Vivian would volunteer to be the child that Elon gives to her. Like, yeah, great. I'll go take. Can it be me, Vivian on Threads, because she don't tweet, and I love to see it. Queen. Also, yes, I saw, quote unquote, the tweet. Heinous incel nonsense is in fact heinous incel nonsense. I don't really have anything to add to it. It's just abhorrent. That much is obvious. And if you don't see how, then you're part of the problem. I would just like to say to my audience members, don't let people talk to you like that. It's disgusting. It's belittling and incredibly sexist. You deserve better. So maybe he's just saying, hey, listen, I can give you kids because some of mine want nothing to do with me anyway. So they're on the market. Maybe that's what he meant. Piece of shit. Finally, unless you have a note to add to that.
No, you kind of summed up my whole opinion with the words piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's 10:44 a.m. Hang on, I gotta call Donald Trump for reminding me he's a piece of shit. Hello, sir, you are a piece of shit. Donald Trump lost the debate. He then claimed victory, saying that he did such a good job that Harris immediately demanded a rematch, because that's what boxers do when they've lost and they know that they want another shot at the belt. Meanwhile, even Fox News agreed wasn't so good, and the right has collectively melted down, sharing conspiracy theories about her having earrings, which were laced with a sound a speaker where people could feed her lines. That they think that's how well she did it. Had to have come from some studio somewhere, and she did good, but also like
she did pretty okay. She did it was very mediocre. Just normal things.
I mean, actually, I think I think she did good because she was a prosecutor and knows how to bait sensitive people. It's the whole thing of like a person who represents themselves in court is, what is the phrase, is at risk of having an idiot for a client. She knows how to, somebody who's going to represent themselves. She baited him over and over. In fact, as performances go, I don't know that there's not a better way to beat specifically Donald Trump. I think she did it as good as it can be done.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying she did a mediocre job. I'm saying that, like, it honestly was just normal responses in a presidential debate. And people are like, well, she got the questions early. No, she answered the most predictable line of questioning in the world about, like, how would you be a president at the presidential debate?
Here's the 4 issues anyone ever talks about. So issue 1, here's issue 2, it's issue, and they didn't deviate from that. It was the way
even a little bit.
And beat the shit out of him.
She studied by watching literally any other presidential debate in history.
Did you see him have his assistant tap her on the shoulder so she could shake his hand at the 9/11 memorial, and he leans in and you can read his lips and he's saying, "You did a really good job." The thing is, I think the thing that he's melting down about right now is has been forced to respect her and knows she dominated him. And unlike the time with the PP in the hotel and the time he was being spanked with the magazine, all allegedly, he doesn't like being dominated by strong women, except for when he pays for it. That said, it's a joke. Nah, fucking sue me, Donald. Make me the most famous podcaster in the world. I'll take it. He won't sue me though. You know why? Do you know why specifically he won't sue me?
Jimmy, I love you so much.
There's too much love there. The news all over, by the way, the entire world. You can watch news segments from other countries and other languages of him. They're eating the dogs, and everyone is making fun of them. They are putting him into musical remixes, putting him into reels, putting him into TikToks, and they are making fun of how unhinged he is. And it would be only funny were it not for the fact that Haitian families are being attacked more, especially in Ohio, and public buildings in Ohio this week were getting bomb threats. If were it not for all of that, as Forrest kind of mentioned earlier, it'd only be hilarious.
Yeah. Now, have you heard the bop on TikTok? They're eating the dogs, eating the cats,
eating the
cat,
dog,
eat the cat.
Yeah.
It's so good. And there's so many women that are like, oh, it turns out I just got to drive to Cleveland to get my cat eaten.
I like that he's changing the line now because he's hoping that he's trying to go with something more realistic now. He's trying to shift and so they're eating the gooses or the geese and the ducks.
Yeah.
And good.
Okay.
Eating the geese.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's true. I know that I would vote and want my taxes to go to bringing in more immigrants if they are eating geese. Fuck geese. We don't need them. They're bad. They honk at your window when you're trying to sleep. This was a problem I had as a child in Louisiana. There was a flock of geese in our neighborhood, and they would literally come right under my window at like 2 a.m. And I'm like 12 years old and honk and wake me up. Fuck geese. Eat all the geese. The only reason you don't want to eat geese is we're probably feeding them what we eat. So they're probably made of shit.
They eat grains and corns and grass. And I used to have geese. Geese are great.
No,
I love
not.
geese. They're phenomenal creatures.
I will
They're
not stand by with this pro-geese propaganda. I'm going to go ahead and go, when the bird people are sending us their geese, they are not sending their best. They're rapists.
Geese are nonsense.
Are
They're
geese
nonsense.
also rapists like ducks, by the way? Do they have that corkscrew thing
I don't
going
believe
on?
so. I don't believe so. They are violent. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't think so. I'm not
Do
an ornithologist.
female geese have a fake vagina to divert their? So ducks have a fake. Duck girls, female ducks, non-mallards have a second vagina that they will reroute their rapist male ducks into to prevent themselves from fertilizing their eggs, essentially. Yeah. Because male ducks will fuck anything dead or alive. Literally anything. Ducks are definitely horrible. The question is, does this extend into geese? Because they're not that far apart.
Yes, geese also have a corkscrew penis and all that. And also the vaginas, they do corkscrew in the opposite direction. And they also have lots of little pits and dead ends and stuff to get lost in.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things there.
Fuck ducks, fuck geese, eat them.
The whole thing.
Good. I've never had it.
The whole the whole thing is that geese are nonsense. And if you ever think that there's any order in the universe, you got to go hang out with a goose.
Hang out with geese. Yeah,
they're ridiculous creatures.
For those of you who believe in intelligent design and not evolution, explain geese. I'll wait.
Most really long neck birds, rheas, those things are too fucking dumb to live. Honestly, RHEA, a greater rhea. Look them up.
I had greater rhea last night, man.
What does that even mean?
Greater rhea? I think you know what it means. Last night I ate some. What am I gonna say? I don't eat anything. I accidentally had a little bit of a milk product, and it gave me greater rhea.
Nice.
I don't know. It's good enough for me. Yeah, flamingos die too, but ducks and geese, eat them.
No, flamingos are also silly. They are fucking silly creatures. They have to eat upside down.
Sorry if the cutoff, I'm actually not sure where it happened, was very abrupt, but here is where we lost that little bit of audio. But listen, you can also go and see the after show, which should be perfect audio. We didn't play any of the music, and so we didn't have that issue during the show. Should be all beautiful, perfect. It's going to be beautiful audio. The audio, it's going to be pristine. It's going to be beautiful. It's frankly, let me play the outro over here, though. So we have the outro now. Also, I don't know if you've all noticed, I do something with the intro song that the outro song is revealing of. Have you noticed it yet? When we do the intro without the lyrics? Anyway, maybe you all figured out. Someone will put it in the comments and places that comments can go. Go to the after show at jimmysnow.com. No, that's not a thing. jimmysnow.com actually could take you to a preacher's website. I'm not kidding. And he doesn't even spell his name Jimmy Snow the way I do, but he's had the URL since longer. He spells Jimmy with an IE, and he's like the anti-me. He's the antithesis. Patreon.com/Jimmy Snow if you would like to consider becoming a patron and supporting the podcast there and getting all those awesome benefits and access to the bonus show, the extended episode. They're a lot of fun. We tend to do these like with Forrest. We read these bad people cards, which are just questions like, who has the worst first name? Who gets paid too much money for what they do? Which is funny because these were not the actual questions. Those are just some random ones off the top. I think the ones on the bottom would be the questions we did, or no, the ones I put in the box, maybe? No, maybe. Hang on. Nope, we definitely did not do who's most likely to. Oh, we did do most likely to draw a dick on a passed out friend. Patreon.com/Jimmy Snow if you would like to support. I would really appreciate it. Like, it'll feed me. So that's nice. Thank you all. Yeah, there's still more music to go. I gotta tell you, I was not happy, and I maybe showed a little bit of a sterner side when talking to the company who runs this service. But in changing some things, I think I was able to make sure that it wouldn't happen on this recording. If you're hearing it on this recording, I will have done their job for them and made part of the production less convenient, but you work with what you got. Sorry, that might have bothered a lot of people. Did you enjoy the abrupt change when I'm doing give my 3 points and then color changes? Probably the audio's never exactly the same day to day. I don't remember if I had the door opened or not. Could have been totally different. Could have been strange. Oh, I got a message from a cutie. I just got a text from a cutie. Oh my goodness. Cutie texts. Oh, gotta love it. Now, if only I had a life and could date. Ooh, through the fallout cone. I bet there's a delay. That was probably terrible. Sorry. Goodbye.